Okay, next up in lesson 6 is talking about markers. So it wants us to open the city view sequence. So we're going to find sequences, city view, and then it says set your timeline playhead to 1 minute 12 seconds. All right, we did that. Also, one of the other things that you want to know when you're doing markers is if you have a clip highlighted when you try to apply a marker, it will stick it down here on the clip itself. So you want to make sure none of the clips are selected if you're trying to put them on top of your timeline instead. So once you have it to this spot, make sure all your clips are deselected, such as just clicking out of them like I did. And then you can choose this button here. You can also hit M on your keyboard. And there is a third way. You can right click the timeline ruler and choose add marker. I usually use this little guy right here, so I'll click it and notice it placed a green marker on our timeline. Also, if you are reading along in chapter 6, there are 5 different types of markers. The one that I just put in is a comment marker. There's also chapter markers, segmentation markers, web link, and flash cue points. So comment markers are probably going to be the most frequently seen ones. And the other thing you can do now is open up the markers panel. It's usually listed down here with your project panel. If you can't see it, come and choose markers. If it's not there, go to window and then open markers that way. As you can see, there is now one marker in the markers panel and it has the time on it, and you can also reflect if there's any information there. And they'll be in time order as well. It now wants us to double click the thumbnail for the marker, and that opens up this here panel. It's basically a dialog box for it, and it wants us to put some information in. So in the duration field, if we type 400 and you don't put any like colons or anything, when you click off of this, it will go to 4 seconds. So that is one way to do that. It also wants us to put a note in, and that is going to be in the name box. So it's going to say replace this shot. And then once you're done with this, go ahead and say okay. And notice down here that information has been put in there. And also if you zoom into your timeline, you can see that the marker is now lasting for a duration of 4 seconds. So you can actually see it very well in your timeline, and it's a good way to remember something. So like if you're going through your edit and you need to go back to something, you could put this marker in, and then if you're waiting for that footage, you'll know right where you need to put it for next time. All right, one of the other things it wants us to talk about is the marker menu up top. So if you come up here, this is the marker menu, and there is options such as ripple sequence markers. So you most of the time want this engaged, and what that means is if we make adjustments to our timeline, so if we shift clips left or right or add something or take something out, the marker will move right along with the adjustments. Because if it's unchecked, that means your markers will stay in place as you make those time changes, so then the markers aren't relevant to where you wanted them originally. So that's a good one to have engaged and checked. There's also another option in here that's called copy paste, including sequence markers. So if you're choosing a section of your sequence that you're duplicating and you want to take the marker with it, you can engage it there as well. Most of the time I don't need those markers, so mine's not engaged. All right, so that was the markers menu, and then it also wants us to do a little bit more in the Seattle skyline. So we're going to go back to our project panel, and it's going to have us open the clip Seattle skyline, and this is going to be up here in our source monitor. And you just want to go ahead and play this clip, and while it's playing, you want to hit M on your keyboard several times. And as you notice, as I'm pushing it, you're seeing markers appear in the timeline in your source panel. So we now have a variety of markers already there. And then if you switch back to the markers panel, you can see where they are in location to that. So they're in that panel. And then it's just showing us this for demo purposes. You'll want to go to your source monitor is active by clicking it, and then choose markers, and then we can clear all markers. So there's add marker. We want to clear all markers right here. And that's just taking away all those ones I just did. But that gives you a demonstration on how to put in a lot of markers really quickly if you need them. The other thing that you should know about these, and if you ever work on big movie projects, you will probably deal with this, is that these markers can be exported into an HTML page with thumbnails, or as a CV or a CSV file, which is a common separated value file. And that's readable by a spreadsheet, and you should be able to bring those back in. But to do that, to get them out, and you have to pass them off to somebody that you're collaborating, or for reference points, you can go to File, you go to Export, and then there's a choice for markers. And of course it's grayed out because right now we just cleared all those markers out. But you can get them out of Premiere, and that is some good metadata that can be passed along when you're working on big projects. Okay, that was my short version on markers.